Before we begin, thank you very much to hello every nope, still not gonna say it, for joining the Patreon campaign. I double checked the emails to these two like back-to-back shouts, and just to make sure it wasn't the same person doing two different jokes, and it is not. Two people back-to-back had the same idea of faking out the old intro, which I think is hilarious timing. Thank you very much for the support and the contribution. To my $15 patrons, you now have a post to go look at on the Patreon page, where I am now asking for another round of review requests. So if you've got something in mind and you are at that tier, please, it is a time once again to let me know what you want to see. So if you haven't already, go leave a request. I will do your bidding. All right, so last week we kind of looked at a bit of new stuff that came out about the early drafts of Beast Machines. We looked at an early draft of the story Bible, and a few other things dropped, including a look at what Season 2 was supposed to be like. And Season 2 is absolutely bonkers before they actually got around to what we saw on screen. So I'm just going to kind of go over this because the changes that they made and what they originally concepted for the second half of Beast Machines is literal insanity. And what I'm reading here is just like a quick 7-page story arc thing that just kind of details the summary of what each episode is going to be about. And then the Season 1 draft also includes some of the preliminary stuff for Season 2. So there's a few discrepancies between the two, so you can see just how far they came in development. But that is time allowing. Let's just go and read this one for now. So it starts off pretty similar. If we look at this, this draft has come from September 9th. So I'm almost doing this. I should have waited 4 days. So I could have done this on this draft's birthday. But we're doing it now because it's ready to go right now. Episode 14, pretty much the same. Optimus restores Cybertron. Though they say restores Cybertron, which almost has me thinking like a full restoration of the planet was in mind here. Before everything else happens. Like what he's supposed to really be doing and the appearance of the Grand Mall. Episode 15, seeking out the two Viacon generals. Maximus discovers Noble Savage. So this and discovers no spark inside Grand Mall. Okay, so right off the bat, we're kind of in the same approach. They kind of had in mind what the early episodes of the season were going to be, and they kind of stuck to it. And just like in the original draft, just like in the later episodes, episode 16, immediately after we discovered Noble Savage, is when Noble makes a play to restore his spark to the Grand Mall, which means even in the early drafts, even in the very first concepts of this character, they still had full intention of just blowing it in one episode, which seems so short-sighted to me. And, basically leaving no sense of surprise or mystery to Noble. We pretty much knew what he was the second episode 16 started. Okay, episode 70, we get the return of Silverbolt. And then, yes, it's still, Night Scream is still dedicated to trying to find Noble Savage, still his friend, so that is retained. And it is mentioned that he still has a spark of sorts. That is not really clarified in the show. In the show, it's made pretty clear that he is sparkless. So a little bit of that was dropped. Then we get to episode 18, and episode 18 is radically different. All right, so if we look at episode 18, the original version of it was A Wolf in the Fold, which was the Hate Plague episode, where all the Maximals are kind of turning against each other. And there is something of a mental balance between, a mental battle between Optimus and Megatron, but not a full-on fight like this seems to be. Let's see. Optimus versus Megatron with their respective teams as seesaws. That didn't really happen. Optimus faithful to decision, Grand Mall faithful to his, etc. Tired of being betrayed, Grand Mall Megatron grants thrust dominion over all of the drones. He goes power mad and proves himself incapable, unworthy. That did not happen. He kind of got left in charge of everything just by default, but he certainly didn't become power hungry And he didn't prove himself incapable or unworthy. He's just in over his head. Optimus goes to the same dynamic on his team? Question mark. No. That didn't happen. Deal with Silverbolt and Savage as teammates. Well, Savage didn't really join the Maximals at any point. He just kind of acted like a stray dog for the entirety of the season. So that doesn't really apply either. It is noted that they wanted a balance to where the Maximals had too many people and dynamics going on, whereas the Viacon side did not have enough. So they're working a weird balance here. All right, I understand that. All right. And then we get to episode 19. The original version is Home Soil. This is the introduction of Botanica. Works a little bit differently now, right? See. So apparently there was a compelling reason originally for Megatron to not replace Tankor and Jetstorm, but that didn't seem to happen. I don't recall that happening in the show. This is the revival of an alien transformer that they describe. See, the fighter ship like the Axelon. Let's see. Basically cut off by thrust, fend off. This all works. This is all pretty much the same. Living Tree Maximal. So they knew right away it's gonna be an organic Maximal, it's organic Maximal. It's gonna be a plant Maximal. Following it underground, they are astonished when it is mutated by the organic core into the technological tree Maximal. So she managed to do it herself through using the goo, instead of Optimus Primal doing the reformatting. She introduces herself as Arborita. So the working name was Arborita, not Botanica. And she describes the exact same origins. She seems a little bit more disappointed by the efforts of the Maximals than she eventually ended up. She basically had the same fix, except like instead of just like switching the type of light the Maximals were using. Apparently in this draft they were trying to grow plants with no light whatsoever. That just seems really... I can't imagine this society... I understand they don't have plants, but they've studied enough. Enough of them have been to Earth at this point to go, like, we probably know how plants work. Let's see. Blowing up Arborita's ship, Megatron is fully aware of the presence of the new Maximal plant. Clearly it's time to come to take drastic measures to eliminate them. Okay, so that pretty much rolls out the same way. And then we get into the search for the Sparks. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. So once again, that is correct. Spark War was episode 20, so we're here. We're on track. Let's see. We introduced the new generals. That works. Let's see. Silverbolt becomes a key player in the search, being the only one on the team who actually spent some time in the Spark Containment Chamber. If there's an implication there in the actual series, I do not remember it. Considering I just watched it last year. Earlier this year. I just watched it a few months ago. I don't recall that happening. The second episode of Spark War literally is one sentence description. Split the heroes into teams, each on different missions. Thank you for the clarification. Search for the Sparks, Part 3. Our guys find the Spark Chamber in/as Megatron's brain. There is a 1-2 punch. We can't destroy Megatron without destroying all of the Spark. Plus, we learn that the Spark... What? Hang on. We need to digest these in separate parts. Okay, so for starters, there was no floating, disembodied Spark Megatron at the time. Megatron was literally the Grand Maul. So the Spark Chambers being like the neurons of his brain actually does have some credit if you consider that aspect of it. Of course, that's not how the actual show pans out. So the Sparks are just kind of housed in the Grand Maul. But no. This gets crazier. All right, so let's go back down. Plus, we learned the Sparks actually agreed to allow Megatron to take over. They feel that Cybertron indeed needed order. Far from being victorious, we are again forced to flee. At this time, Optimus is left very troubled. The darkest fade out of the entire series. Oh my god. So... there's an implication, there's an idea, and this goes right back to this, which is the full series Bible, and the very, beginnings of the Season 2, this idea. Where there is an implication in this as well. where they actually the Sparks don't want their freedom. Removed from the conflicts and chaos of life in their Transformers bodies, they have found a kind of peace and are not eager to return to their old lives. Megatron truly is a savior to them. So this completely ignores the canon of Beast Wars, where the Transformers have been in a state of relative peace for the last 300 years. And if you follow enough Transformers, you know that is a very long time for them to have peace for that long. So not entirely accurate, not entirely following canon here. Things would have been relatively peaceful. So like that idea, I think, is really, really off base. Let's see. Let's get back to this. So, let's see, what else can we divulge here? We do end by destroying Megatron's central core processor, forcing him to vacate the Grand Mall and escape inside a small humanoid robotic body. Again, not something that ever happened. Let's see, are they still in Megatron's head as he went? Does anybody have free access to them now, or are they protected somehow? So now they don't even know what is going on with the Sparks. There's just a loose idea that they're out of control. Let's see, something outside making the dog very upset. In episode 23, we know Flora uncovers a vital clue that will lead them to the techno-organic reformatting of Cybertron. So, remember, we just established the name was Arboreta. Now the name is Flora, and we know that name will not stick either. They introduced a ticking time clock. They introduced a ticking time clock idea where the bad news is they could destroy all of the Sparks if they are not released in time. Meaning we've got, now it's a matter of the Sparks could deteriorate. If they reformat the planet, it might destroy the Sparks in the process. So we're trying to add tension to the final goal. Even if the Maximals are on the right track, they still could potentially be dooming the entire planet. So that's another layer we did not get in the final series. The Sparks are mostly the Sparks in the final series just kind of end up being the name. Words escape me today. That is bad. I'm listening to the dog barking at something like furious outside. Point being, the Sparks are basically just a plot device. They didn't really play into it like this at all. Episode 24, we battle the two Megatrons, the robotic body and its Viacon counterpart. So we never really established that there were two Megatron bodies going around. They did establish that Megatron left the Grand Mall and had a humanoid robotic body, which I guess in the final draft ends up being replaced by the diagnostic drone. But we don't have anything to indicate that there was like a second Megatron at this point. Just when we think we've won, it rejoins with the Grand Mall head, reuniting Megs with the Sparks. So now we have a whole nother layer on top of everything that didn't happen in the original series. Megatron would have regained control of the Grand Mall instead of it just crashing down. Grand finale two-parter. So it was a two-parter, not a three-parter. Okay. Here's the part that made me go, okay, now we have to talk about this. We've got to actually discuss this. We learned the truth about Transformers. Just as Noble Savage uploaded his anagrams into a cybernetic body, which we didn't have any indication of in this layout at any point, so did the ancestors of the Transformers. Human beings. Our audience learns the Transformers are actually us. This is the point where if this is how this ended in 2000, if this is how this series would have ended in 2000, I think I would have found Bob Skir at the last convention he attended, and I would have farted on his breakfast. And I have to go with something like that because I can't say I'm gonna physically harm him. Because I wouldn't do that, but oh my god, I would so annoy his day. This is the dumbest plot twist I think I've ever heard. Not only does it make absolutely no sense whatsoever, it has absolutely no context in Transformers as to why this would actually work. It flies in the face of everything. So this is after season 1's original draft, where they have things like the key to Vector Sigma. They have the plasma energy chamber. I don't understand how you have such a you can reach into the well that is season 1's canon and then completely throw it out the window when you get to season 2 with a plot twist that stupid. Transformers are actually super evolved human beings. Eat me. That makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. Jeez. I mean, for starters, Transformers existed for millions and millions of years before humanity had even crawled out of the genetic pools that we eventually came from. Like, it's nothing. It's the dumbest plot twist I've ever heard of. It's like, I don't know. There's no logic, real world, or Transformer that makes any sense of this plot twist. It's literally just there for shock value, and obviously it didn't make it past the draft. All right, so how's the final episode? How's the final episode going to run down? The final battle between Optimus and Megatron, in which Megatron plays his part in the techno-organicizing of Cybertron, and Optimus pays the ultimate price. Where do liberated sparks physically go? Into the empty bodies of fallen Transformers, which are instantly reformatted by whatever process Optimus and Megatron trigger? Or does Flora grow a whole population of techno-organic plants that can become sentient when they receive sparks? Or do you imagine like they reformat Cybertron and every Transformer except like 5 of them, or like four or five at that point, everyone is an organic plant Transformer, and it's did the new bodies rise up out of some techno-organic primordial ooze that our guys have been cooking up within Cybertron's organic core, which is now the techno-organic core? They had no idea, apparently. Silver Bull and Black Arachnia reign as king and queen. So, Silver Bull and Black Arachnia, after being born a Predacon, and technically, like, in this canon, you gotta remember, she's probably still, like, less than a year old. At least as far as when she was first programmed on Earth. And so, okay, so we have a former Viacon and a former Predacon reigning as king and queen of Cybertron. Cheetor goes off into space in search of his destiny. So Cheetor just like ups and leaves. There's a whole planet in chaos, and like the one that was patterned as the next leader of the Maximals just goes, I'm out. What happened to the diagnostic drone? I'm glad someone was worried about him. Do we use him at all in season 2? Would it be a shame to lose the DD, since Hasbro guys seem to really like him. Never made a toy of him, but they liked him. Perhaps Megatron gives him a spark. Can you say Evil Wizard of Oz? And the DD becomes a helicopter spy general. They didn't play that one out either, did they? Can you imagine if the diagnostic drone actually became Obsidian? Let's see. His character is such a good foil for Megatron and Thrust. The diagnostic drone never engaged with Thrust, so that's fun. Let's see. Request desires for new season, advancing skill sets, growth, and change. Oh, we didn't really get a whole lot of that. Make villains more individualistic. Strike and Obsidian are basically one character, so I don't really think I don't think they really accomplished that one. Mess with the internal dynamics with the team. Yet, let's see. We need yet more conflict within our team, between our teammates. Well, you certainly did that. They did more infighting than Viacon fighting. Let's see. Megatron sorely missed from a bunch of episodes of season 1. We have to beef him up. They ended up creating something that basically left him just literally floating for most of the season, so I don't think they really got that done very well either. Have an episode designed just to lighten up Optimus. That certainly didn't happen. How these people spend their off hours. We never saw that. Richard B stories? No. Bittersweet longing for the Cybertron they all miss and the people they all miss. Gives them something to be wistful for, and reason they need to get the sparks back. A little bit here and there. Let's see. What characters miss? Steve wants to see Black Arachnia dance. Steve needed to be fired. You don't make Black Arachnia dance. Kevin likes the frame-in-frame split-screen graphics. Kevin is a moron. Those look terrible. See, looser story structure, standalone stories, less serialized. So we only got like 2 or 3 of those at best. Now stripped as Beast Bell, the giant head from Zardoz. All gigantic, all-powerful, also more vulnerable. Demigod? Find new pairings for our Maximals, new combinations of heroes, and interesting mix. Rat Trap, Cheetor, and Night Scream as the Three Musketeers. That didn't happen. We need more character stories. Didn't get that. We need character arcs for each of our characters, relationship arcs for all of them. Didn't get that. Camaraderie. Okay, so one note is up here. There's a note up here that says like they want more conflict between the characters, and now they want more camaraderie at the same time. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. Let's see, and then beyond this, they had ideas. They knew they wanted a helicopter for one of the Viacon generals, and they wanted the other one to be a bad girl. Someone to make Black Arachnia look soft by contrast. Best, smartest, most vicious. Segmented Humvee. Okay, that was correct. Yeah, fast and nimble. For female personality in contrast to her weaponries. And it makes note that the tank drones will still be around. So all of this is a lot of just bizarre ideas that did not make it to the final cut of the show. And you can tell they had very weird ideas. They had some super weird ideas. I'm going to pop over to the season Bible again to point out something else that was originally planned for season 2. Tankor resurrecting himself. He was just going to come back. You know how, like, at the end, like season 2, episode 1, his body just kind of vanishes from the Citadel? Apparently, he was going to come back at some point in season 2. Having seen the folly of his ways, he realizes that the balance between nature and technology is essential, but the only way to assure that balance is to destroy everything. So Tankor was going to remain in play. He was going to become a nihilistic, loose cannon wild card, equally dangerous to both Optimus and Megatron, to the point where the two would have to team up to take his spark. That didn't happen, obviously. But even that is crazier than things like the Sparks not wanting to be free, right? There was originally another final battle concept where Optimus and Megatron would actually switch forms. So Optimus would take a fully organic body, or Optimus would take a fully mechanical body, and Megatron would take a fully organic body. That probably didn't get done because they didn't have the budget to make 2 brand new models. But the idea would have altered their own perceptions and what they're connected to, which would have made the final battle a little bit more tense. Remember, even in this, the very earliest draft of Season 2, they still had this idea that when Megatron and Optimus both take a plunge into the organic pit, that somehow triggers the reformatting of the entire planet. At no point has any of that ever been explained why or how. But they didn't have an idea of exactly how this was going to end. They had 4 ideas. Optimus survives, having willingly submitted himself to a reformatting, while Megatron is gone, having refused to submit to a reformatting right up to the end, even though at this point he'd be completely organic anyway. Both Optimus and Megatron are gone, having sacrificed themselves for the greater good. Well, Megatron didn't sacrifice himself, but yeah, that's basically what we got. Optimus and Megatron emerge, both reformatted into a techno-organic amalgamation of one another. That would have led to some really interesting, like, finales. It's like Megatron just realized how insane he was and calms down. So, like, Optimus and Megatron kind of rule techno-organic Cybertron together. Some fourth, even cooler option. We did not get a cooler option. So that's your general rundown. These documents go into far greater detail, especially the story Bible, but I will let you discover that for yourself. I will again leave a link in the description so you can actually go see this for yourself. It is over on TF Raw's Twitter account at Walrus Law, and you can read the entire thing for yourself. It's insane. This is literal insanity in penned form, trying to make a Transformers cartoon, the follow-up Beast Wars. So, interesting history. So, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.
I'm like, I think you guys got this. I will back away, and I will see you all later.
You've got this handled.
Luffy's like, really? You're not gonna help me? Like, it's fine now.
It's like these disgusting creatures breathing down my neck, and you're all just like, I believe in you. You got this.
All right, you seem to have this. 5 minutes.